We're rolling? All right, here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the No Vacancy podcast with me, your host, Glenn Hausman. I am excited to be here because, of course, I have one of my favorite CEOs on the entire planet, maybe the universe. I'm not so sure about those CEOs on Venus right now, but it's
Glenn, do you say that to everyone?
No, just some of my favorites. I do like a lot of folks, but to be fair, you talk to me, so that already makes you one of my favorites. The voice you were hearing, of course, is David Cog, President and CEO of Best Western. How are you today?
Great, Glenn. Glad to be here.
I am so happy to have you here today. So we're recording this at the podcast booth at the AHOA conference here in the Gaylord National. What a fun event I think this is going to be. What do you hope to be getting out of it this week?
This is going to be incredible. It's going to be amazing. I get to catch up with a lot of my friends here.
Yeah.
And see what we can do for them.
Yeah, of course. So I think the question is, what can you do? But I mean, I think a lot. You have a lot of exciting brands. The last time we spoke on the No Vacancy podcast was, I want to say, November of 2016. It's been a year and a half. You had just done the ShortStay announcement.
Right. Time flies.
Yeah, I know. So tell me a little bit about what's going on with, ShortStay. When I speak to your development guys, they seem like they're doing really well. They're pretty happy guys.
It's been incredible. I think at the end of this year, we would have about 100 ShortStay hotels open.
Wow.
And we have a very healthy pipeline that we're working very hard on. And you know what's amazing about ShortStay is initially we thought it's just going to be a slow ramp up like a lot of the other brands, but we've just been amazed at the interest with ShortStay, and particularly heartening to see that there are a lot of developers who just bought new assets and they're spending money to renovate and they want to reposition those assets, and they are interested in branding them ShortStay. So that's an added bonus.
It's definitely an added bonus. So tell us a little bit about the proposition of ShortStay. What is it that's attracting so many developers with 100 properties open already?
Yeah, we set out to create leadership in the economy segment because as you think about the brands in the economy segment today, there aren't really clear leaders, someone who stands for quality, someone who stands for customer care, and those are the cornerstones of ShortStay. We have satisfaction guarantee, we have TripAdvisor rating requirements, we also have an announced inspection. All these things are aimed to provide our guests a superior experience. They might pay the economy segment price, but they have the right to expect a clean, comfortable room with good service. And that's what we set out to do with ShortStay. We want to take a leadership role in that segment.
Well, I think it's taking off, and most notably to me, as I'm driving around on the highways, I see exit here, and I'm seeing more and more ShortStay signs wherever I go.
That's great to hear.
Yeah. So, what about the mothership brands? What's going on with Best Western Plus, Best Western Premier, and I think I stayed at the coolest ever Best Western Premier hotel when I got to stay in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia.
Oh, no kidding.
Which was an unbelievable experience to me, that you would have a premier hotel in such a wild way out type of a place.
No kidding. I've been to that hotel. That hotel is the best location ever. It's right in the middle of the square next to all the government buildings. And that hotel is like a Hyatt in many ways. It's a full-service, beautiful hotel. We're really proud of it.
And super fast internet service, and amazing bed, and it's really comfortable. And of course, as Mr. Kong was saying, when you walk out of the hotel, you just turn right, and boom, you're in the major square of the city with giant Genghis Khan statues everywhere.
The high-speed internet access there is unbelievable. They have an IP address for every single guest room. Can you believe that?
I wish we had more of that here in this podcast booth right now, so we could get better internet connectivity. So, Best Western Premier seems to be taking off here in key locations around the world. How is that working out for the brand?
Brand is growing. We have a very healthy pipeline. We have 500 some hotels in a pipeline with 300 something in the United States and Canada. We launched a bunch of new brands in the last few years, and it's great to see that about 40% of the new applications are for one of these new brands, which demonstrates that these new brands are gaining traction and are broadening our Best Western appeal to developers as well as to guests that stay at our hotels.
Yeah, and that's I think you're downplaying a bunch of new brands in the last couple of years. I think one a year for the last 5 years at this point. It's almost an annual tradition. It's like, what's the big announcement going to be when you go to the annual Best Western conference held every fall? So, all right. So, Glow and Vibe, I'm starting to see them pop up in places now. I haven't had yet to stage. So, what kind of feedback are you getting from the ownership and customers that are starting to come through?
Well, actually, the first Vibe is going to open in a few months, and the first Glow, likewise, in a few months. These brands are really gaining a lot of traction. We have a very good pipeline. We have I think about 40 Vibes approved and maybe 50 Glows approved. And many of them are under construction today. So I feel really good about it, particularly Glow, which aimed at secondary markets. And, in terms of construction, it's much easier than in some of these gateway locations. I feel really good about both of them.
Yeah, what are you most excited about when it comes to those brands? What features, what aspects that the customers you think are going to really take to?
Those brands were created to broaden the appeal of Best Western to today's travelers. And if you think about our Best Western brand or Best Western Plus and Best Western Premier, they offer a very, reliable, expected kind of experience. Whereas Vibe and Glow are very different. They are boutique lifestyle brands, and it's all about design. It's all about how you feel when you go to these hotels. So it's just a different kind of experience. And for today's travelers, offering those options, I think is really important. It's just kind of like you wonder, you go to the supermarket, you see all these brands of detergent or consumer packaged goods, and it's because people want choices. So I think the more options you provide people, the more powerful your brand is going to be.
When it comes to Glow and Vibe, are you seeing a lot of development from folks that are already owners and operators of Best Western branded hotels?
There are some of them. Some of the developers are current Best Western members, but a fair number of them are not.
Which is exciting.
Which is exactly what we aim to do. It's to broaden the appeal of our brand to these new developers.
Yeah, I always get, I always have mixed feelings about that. When you say, hey, we have X amount % that are developing new hotels, they like what we're doing and we're moving forward. But the other metric really is how many new people are you constantly bringing to the table?
Correct.
How many folks are you bringing into that brand family that then you could grow on it? How do you look at that? Is there a number that you're looking for, percentage breakdown? How does that all work in your mindset?
I really don't have any metrics that we currently follow, and I don't think it's important. I think it's important to, number one, do a good job with our current members. So when you think about building a new hotel, they're coming to us. And it's also important to reach out and gain more developers that we work with. And this is no different than if you're running a hotel. You always want to broaden your customer base. You want to protect what you have, but you also want to grow that base.
Right. Yeah, of course. So is it more like an 80-20 rule, or is the fundamentals different?
I don't really follow.
Yeah, I'm just, I don't mean to barrage you with these kind of questions. Just suddenly I got interested in this in this particular topic on how it works. I love to get super wonky with the hotel stuff. So let me tell you, I've been trying to stay at more Best Westerns too, because I love the eclectic nature of the brands themselves. And I was in London and with my family, no less. I never get to travel with my family, and I had an opportunity to do so. When we stayed at a Best Western in London, in an area called Swiss Cottage, and it was so much fun because it was old and it was historic. I mean, old in a good way.
Yeah, right.
Historic and really oozed classic England and UK. And to me, that is really something I seek out in a hospitality experience.
Well, yeah, that's nice to hear. And actually, in Europe, we have a lot of these older, historic kinds of hotels with a lot of culture behind it. And some hotels are 300 years old. We have some castles.
I was going to say castles, yeah.
That are our hotels. So it's really great to hear. They do offer unique experience.
I think I got to go to one of those castles in Scotland. I'm going to check that out. I promised my wife that the next big trip that we take is going to be like a castle tour.
All right.
we really love those things. So, what are you thinking about when it comes to consumers in the future? How do you figure out how they're changing, and then what types of programs you should focus upon with the variety of brands at Best Western that'll best connect with them to get them to have that emotional traction that you need with customers to keep them coming back again and again.
That's a tough question because Best Western has such broad appeal.
Right.
We have our core customers who are boomers and who have been on many road trips with us and stayed with us for many, many years. And what they look for is somewhat different than the new generation of travelers vis-a-vis the millennials. And I think in many ways, millennials are a very disruptive force in many ways, not just based on what they shop, how they shop, and what they use, for example, Uber or Lyft or where they stay, like Airbnb and different kinds of hotels like hostels. So you gotta try to find every way to be relevant to your customer base. And I see because of this generational shift, we have boomers who are evolving their expectations too. It's no secret that the hotels have to put in more electrical outlets to accommodate all the devices people bring to the guest rooms. We have to look at how people want to be empowered in using their phone, whether it's to check in or check out, or eventually to use those phones as room keys. And we have to look at how we provide services in the future. And for example, at Best Western, we've been testing messaging platforms, texting through text, like a text bot. But we are evolving that also to looking at possibly using the Amazon Dot. Imagine asking Alexa to give you a wake-up call or to ask about the hours of breakfast or to request more towels. It's far more convenient to have that voice command than even texting.
Yeah,
so I've got to look for that.
Totally. I've been thinking about this particular issue a lot. And one of my biggest concerns in hospitality, and folks, I talk about this all the time here on the No Vacancy podcast, is the danger of too much technology interfering with human interaction. But when we're talking about something like the Amazon Dot, I feel that that's the right application of technology, because if I call down to the front desk and say, hey, what time is breakfast until? That's not a meaningful connection that I'm having with one of the staffers. And I used to be suspicious of Echo and Amazon Dot and all of these services that are coming around until someone gave me one for a Christmas gift, right? and now all of a sudden it's just like, Echo, set timer for 4 minutes, which is how long it takes for my French press coffee to go. And I am now addicted to it and getting used to it in my home. And I'm really coming around to the idea that in a hotel room, it's going to be a really interesting idea if applied in exactly the way that you're saying.
No, I'm totally with you. I think you got to respect that different people want different types of interaction. Some want less, some want more. So you've got to empower them to do what they wish.
Yeah, and the most challenging part is sometimes I want less and sometimes I want more, and it leaves folks on the hotel side really having to figure out what mood I'm in that particular day.
Well, Glenn, you've always been difficult to figure out.
Well, I appreciate you finishing that sentence. Mostly people end with the word difficult. So, thank you for that. So, how do you judge whether or not technology is something that you actually want to put in? I know with the Dot, you were testing it in one of the board of directors of Best Western's Hotel, who, when I last spoke to him in the fall, was finding great success with it.
Yeah, he loves it, and his guests love it, and that satisfaction is reflected in the guest satisfaction surveys. And, first of all, the texting platform, we've tested it in about 500 hotels now, and the improvement has been just amazing. It's been about an 8-point lift, which is absolutely amazing.
Wow, 8-point lift. That's a significant lift there. Yeah. That's wow. I mean, I would never have thought that you could get that much of a lift out of it. That's really transforming the whole notion of the way people stay within a hotel and giving you the confidence in order to bring it across the entire company.
No kidding, yeah.
But I guess that you're that's going to be more of an optional thing if put into the hotels?
Right now it's still optional. We're still testing it.
Excellent. What about else? What else do you think is going to be coming down the pike next?
We are working on a new brand, and it's going to be a very unusual brand, and it's a conversion brand, but it's going to have a very wide appeal. I think people are looking for experience, and so this brand is going to provide that. But people also want to leverage the powerful revenue engines that an established brand like Best Western has to offer. And then on top of it, when you think about an unusual brand, you got to think about creating that buzz all the time. So this brand is going to have a very comprehensive social media and marketing and public relations plan associated with it, both at the hotel level and the brand level. Those three components, the design of the hotel, the ability to be integrated with our powerful reservation engine, and then the constant buzz that we'll create with our marketing plan. Those three things, I think, would make this brand extremely successful.
I like the idea of a conversion brand, and I say that because in order to get to scale, I think it'll be a lot easier for the development team to start closing those deals and make those transitions real quickly. I can't wait to hear more about this particular brand, but of course we're not going to get any details here today. You know, I got to tell you, listeners, I did bribe David. I pulled out a big George Washington from my pocket, and somehow he rejected that big $1 bill. I guess I'm going to have to do a little bit better next time there, David.
Yes, you do, but good things are worth waiting for.
Yeah. When do you think we'll be able to hear more about it? I'm going to guess NYU Hospitality Investment Conference time, beginning of June?
We hope very shortly.
Yeah. All right, so I guess we're going to have to go on to a different topic then. How are you feeling about the overall future of what's going on with the state of hospitality?
I think it's great. I think the fundamentals are really wonderful. I've been in the industry for a very long time, and seldom do you see an extended period of time when you have such great fundamentals working in your favor.
What do you think's different this time?
Well, it's first of all, in terms of this cycle, is this up period that we've been in is much longer than I have ever been able to remember.
Yeah,
it's been a very long stretch.
I don't think anything's ever approached this, and I'm at the point now where I'm starting to ask people, and I'll ask you, do you think the days of the big up and down cycle are over? And if so, or if not, why?
I think because the lending institutions have been very cautious about new projects. This time, I think we are protected on the downside because the supply hasn't been outrageous.
Right.
It's been very moderate. In some cities, you have that supply problem.
Yeah, we're looking at you, New York, and I would say Nashville, but no matter how many hotels open there, they seem to be able to absorb them unbelievable. So I think that's a great point that you're making there. That there's been moderate kind of growth because of banks, and in the days after the Great Recession, we still had all those holdover projects, right? And then it seems like development completely stopped for a number of years.
Correct.
And then it just started to come back much slowly. And demand has been able to outstrip supply for so long. I'm starting to wonder the other half of it, I think, is perhaps a fundamental shift in society in the way that people want to live their lives. They're not buying as many things. They're going out and having experiences. That word that we hear over and over and over again. Do you think that has something to do with it?
I think that's both a plus and a minus. I think for as long as hotels can offer that unique experience, we are going to be competitive. But of course, you know, Airbnb always touts that the difference with them is they offer you the local experience, the real authentic one. So I think the hotel industry in general needs to be mindful of the competition, and we have to be vigilant.
Yeah, we do, and I've had experiences where I've had no choice but to stay in alternative accommodations, and I found myself enjoying those other accommodations. So it's kind of a scary time. But I think that it's not going to be a long-term issue as each of these jurisdictions kind of figure out what the rules are going to be over time and kind of level that playing field.
Oh, I hope you're right.
Yeah, well, if I'm not right, I'm just going to convince myself I am. Anyway, David, so that way I can sleep well at night. If not, I have to deal with the torture of being me, and that's a very difficult thing to do.
Must be hard.
Well, it is. I'm not an awesome CEO like you are. I gotta sit out here and talk for a living. Oh, it's exhausting. So what are you most excited about in the coming year, in the next 12, 18 months or so? Is it the debut of the new brand? Is it the possibility of technology to enhance your customer offerings? Is it maybe perhaps just that things are going well and you're signing a lot of deals?
Well, at Best Western, we have a singular focus, and that is on our members' success. And that means empowering them to be as effective and competitive in the marketplace as possible, and also driving superior revenue to them. And in both regards, I'm excited about our strategy involved, providing them better support, whether it's in revenue management or training or otherwise superior sales, marketing, distribution strategies that would drive more business to them.
Yeah, and so let me ask you one non-hospitality related question. How do you keep up with understanding what's the best ideas would be in business? Do you read a lot of books? Is there one that you're really fascinated with that you kind of go back to? I want to know how to be a better executive is kind of what I'm asking.
Well, I can tell you, but I have to kill you afterwards.
It might be worth it, David. At least I'll go out knowing the secret to success, even if I don't achieve it.
I think a lot of it is the mindset. And tomorrow at the AHOA General Session, the CEOs have been asked to give a TED Talk of about 5 minutes. And my topic is going to be how to think like a disruptor and how to act like a startup, because that is what it takes to be successful in the future. So
personally then, how do you check yourself to make sure that you're not doing the same old and bringing fresh ideas to the table? And maybe that's an idea that because you're a different generation than some the younger folks out there, that you don't immediately discount because of what your perspective might be.
Well, I ask myself, am I being reactive or am I being proactive? Because thinking like a disruptor is the ultimate of being proactive. You capitalize on the deficiency and efficiency in the system, and you totally rethink what's possible. So just to illustrate, if you are a reactive kind of person, you think about improvements, you're going to think, well, what are 2 improvements I can make? And that may give you a 10% improvement over some time. But if you think like a disruptor, you're going to ask a different question, and that question is going to be, what are 2 things others can do to me that would make me irrelevant? And with that kind of thinking, you are able to have some breakthrough strategies. But being able to think like that is not enough. You look at Amazon, they think like that all the time, and that's why they're constantly disrupting different industries. But they have another part that's going for them. That make them such a great disruptor. The other part to that is they're always thinking like they are a startup. You listen to Jeff Bezos, and you read his annual stockholder letter. Every year for 20-some years, he said, "It's always day one at Amazon. It's always day one. It's always the start of a startup, the first day of a startup." So if you give yourself that kind of attitude, the enthusiasm, the excitement, the can-do attitude, you stop at nothing, it's go for broke, you are going to be very successful. You think like a disruptor, you act like a startup.
Yeah, I think we're in an era of you've got to be bold with risk-taking, or else you're just going to be deemed irrelevant by a changing world around you.
Correct, because there would be people that would disrupt you.
Right. So that's the word of the day is disruption. Don't be disrupted. Be the disruptor, even if you are part of the the established order. Is I think the words I'm looking for. Before we wrap up, anything else that you feel that you need to share here with us?
Well, thank you, Glenn. It's always a pleasure to meet up with you.
It's always a pleasure to meet up with you, and I want to thank all of you guys for listening, especially Mr. David Kong for being here today and sitting with me on the No Vacancy podcast. And I will be back next week. That is on unless I decide to go back to Mongolia and stay at the Best Western Premier. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay.